Most SwiftUI tutorials teach one small feature at a time, but real apps need structure, persistence, authentication, cloud sync, AI handling, quiz logic, and debugging support. This is SwiftCoach AI, a production-style SwiftUI app built to show how a real AI-powered iOS project fits together. You can choose learning goals, study different modes, ask all different types of questions using the AI, and it also includes coaching responses as well. The app includes save conversations, favorites, study plan items, speech, input, spoken responses, and SwiftData local persistence, so the user's learning history can be stored and retrieved locally. There is also practice quiz section where you can create any type of quiz. Okay, I just type one on the fly. How to create a class. As you can see, the AI generates multiple choice questions that you can use where you have to select the right answer. And you can also track your progress and save the quiz results. The actual results, they're stored within the Scores tab, which is here. And it shows you the actual reports. So instead of stitching together random SwiftData, Firebase and AI tutorials, you can get a complete project you can run, study and customize. SwiftData got messy fast, so I fixed it using the repository pattern. So let's continue from the previous episode. The next function we need to add is add study plan item. So what that does, it adds a study plan item as a persistent progress data. The next function we need to create is our toggle study plan item. So what that does, it will just toggle the completion for a study plan item. I'll just copy the code from the clipboard that will delete a study plan item. And then I'll copy and paste some more code from the clipboard, which is add quiz results. And the purpose of that function, it stores a completed quiz attempt as historical learning progress. The next function we need to create is called add quiz questions. I'll just copy some more code from the clipboard and paste it here. And that function, fetch all quiz questions, it doesn't exist as yet. We'll be creating that later. The next thing we need to do is to enforce the quiz size at the right boundary so the caller cannot bypass it. So we need to use a for loop. I don't think draft option B exists, so let's locate that definition where we created it. As you can see, it doesn't exist. Option A, so that should be B, C, and then create another one which is called option D, and that's within the quiz question draft struct. also need another closing bracket there. No, I'm wrong, that closing bracket shouldn't be there because we've got one here already at the end, which is there. So the next thing we need to do is to call our save method that hasn't been created as yet. And we call that save method outside of the loop, so it will be after this line. The next function we need to create is called select quiz option. So what we're doing there on lines 171, normalize once at input time, so scoring stays simple and predictable. And on line 173, changing an answer invalidates any previous submission state. I just copy another function from the clipboard, which is called submit multiple choice quiz. And then we'll implement the remaining lines that's needed for this function. After line 190, we need to add the following. And remember, we should always use safe on wrapping where we can. So the purpose of this is that defensive defaults keeps persistent resilient if an empty quiz is submitted. We also need to call the save method. I will paste another method from the clipboard that's called fetch all quiz questions. As you can see, this error or this print statement will only be used for testing and for development. As a whole, this function fetch all quiz questions, it is suitable for a tutorial, but at scale it needs to be replaced. If it's going to be in production, we need to use something like fetch descriptor. So filtering happens in the persistent store. So that's a production fix that we could implement. The next function we need to create is our save function that I mentioned in the previous episode. So let's create that now. Just like with the previous function, we just use this for development, for testing, the print statement that is. This is suitable for a tutorial. Production code should route the persistent failures through structured logging and, where appropriate, user-facing recovery. In our next episode, we will complete the implementation for the AppRepository class that we're working on at the moment. And please remember to comment, like and subscribe.